The International Museum Day 2011 will be celebrated around May the 18th under the theme of Museum and Memory. Museums preserve cultural heritages and have always been an indispensable part of our spiritual life. What are the current situation of museums worldwide? How are they going to celebrate the International Museums Day? And what problems do they have in management? Let's focus on today's World Perspective.
Hello, this is CNC World Perspective. I'm aiming in Beijing. The worldwide community of museums will celebrate International Museum Day around May the 18th, 2011. As a global event, it has attracted more and more attention during recent years. First, let's get to know more about this special day and its founder, icon.
In 1977, the International Council of Museums, or ICOM, during its 12th General Assembly in Leningrad and Moscow, adopted a resolution designating May the 18th as International Museum Day. Delegates to the Assembly felt the resolution would bolster recognition for museums and provide a reminder to governments and the general public of the very special role museums play in preserving cultural heritage. Beginning in 1984, annual themes have been suggested to better coordinate international celebrations. The annual theme is intended to be adaptable to museums of all types and sizes, with activities taking place on or around the 18th of May, in the spirit of the motto, "Museums are an important means of cultural exchange, enrichment of cultures, and development of mutual understanding, cooperation, and peace among peoples." ICOM Advisory Committee organizes the theme of this event that, given the high number of countries involved, lasts a day, a weekend, a week, or even a month. From America to Oceania, including Africa, Europe, and Asia, this international event has confirmed its popularity. These recent years, International Museum Day has been experiencing its highest evolution, with almost 30,000 museums that organized activities in more than 100 countries. The event provides the opportunity for museum professionals to meet the public and alert them to the challenges that museums face if they are to be, as in the ICOM definition of museums, an institution in the service of society and of its development. Created in 1946, the International Council of Museums, or ICOM, is an international non-governmental organization maintaining formal relations with UNESCO. Within the United Nations, ICOM has a consultative status with the Economic and Social Council. ICOM is the only international organization representing museums and museum professionals on a global level. ICOM provides a platform to share and critique demonstration projects by participants from culturally and linguistically diverse backgrounds. It is a forum for developing innovative and inclusive conceptual frameworks for working across different cultures in a dynamic and changing environment. There are multiple perceptions and perspectives of what is harmony. The multiple voices of different participants will inform discussions to promote a culture of world peace. ICOM raises the level of awareness of the importance of the purpose of museums and their role in fostering approaches to promote social harmony and inclusion.
International Museums Day 2011 is to be celebrated on May the 18th under the theme of Museums and Memory. Different museums around the world has begun preparing for this event in various forms. Let's follow our correspondent to take a look.
The theme of International Museum Day 2011 is Museum and Memory. Museums store memory and tell stories. They have numerous objects in their collections that are basic to the memory of the communities we live in. These objects are the expressions of our natural and cultural heritage. Many of them are fragile, some endangered, and they need special care and conservation. International Museum Day 2011 will be an occasion for visitors to discover and rediscover individual and collective memory. The National Museum of Korea is the flagship museum of Korean history and art in South Korea, and is the cultural organization that represents Korea. Since its establishment in 1945, the museum has been committed to various studies and research activities in the fields of archaeology, history, and art, continuously developing a variety of exhibitions and education programs. In October 2005, the museum opened in a new building in Yongsan Family Park in Seoul, South Korea. The museum contains over 220,000 pieces in its collection, with about 13,000 pieces on display at one time. It displays relics and artifacts throughout 6 permanent exhibition galleries, such as Archaeological Gallery, Historical Gallery, Fine Arts Gallery 1, Donation Gallery, Fine Arts Gallery 2, and Asian Art Gallery. It is the 6th largest museum in the world in terms of floor space, now covering a total of 137,201 square meters.
작년도에 300만 명을 유치함으로써
According to the art newspaper, we were ranked the 9th in the world last year in terms of the number of visitors, as more than 3 million people visited here. I think we were able to draw such number of visitors on the back of our various exhibitions, cultural programs, and education programs.
Italy is a country boasting abundant historic and cultural heritage. Its capital, Rome, is an open-air museum. Many works of art embellish its streets and squares, and its churches contain paintings and sculptures of the greatest artists from Michelangelo to Raphael, from Rubens to Bernini. The museums of Rome complement the treasures on display in streets and churches with a variety of collections, which are usually located in palaces, which themselves are a work of art, so that often the container is as important as its contents. Zedema is a Rome cultural promotion company. Its mission is to offer people an optimal fruition of the historical and artistic wealth of the city, and a core business that consists into activities, cultural and touristic services, and the organization of events. The activity of creation, conservation, and cataloging from the City Monuments Department, the managing of civic museums, and of different civic spaces dedicated to arts, culture, and tourism, are today in the hands of Zedema, which has been operating in this field since 1998. The increasing quality of these services for tourists is a winning element in the managing of the cultural wealth of the city. Zedema is responsible, in particular, of the strategy of the city for the increase and integration of touristic and cultural services. In the upcoming global event of museums, all museums in Rome will be open to the public. Also in Paris, most of the museums of France, like Louvre Museum, Orsay Museum, Centre Pompidou, will open their door for enabling both one-evening visitors and regulars to rediscover their museums and collections in a different way, and free of charge on May the 18th.
Museums are widely acknowledged as educational institutions that engage with schools, families, and communities. They connect the whole society to the cultural, artistic, historic, natural, and scientific understandings that constitute our heritage, and they collect the conserved tangible objects, animate and inanimate, for their benefit for future generations. According to the ICOM statutes, adopted during the 21st General Conference in Vienna, Austria, in 2007, a museum is a non-profit, permanent institution in the service of society and its development, open to the public,
which acquires, conserves, researches, communicates, and exhibits the tangible and intangible heritage of humanity and its environment for the purposes of education, study, and enjoyment. This definition is a reference in the international community. Museums are strongholds of such knowledge and know-how. By contextualizing an object across time and space, museums can share this knowledge and its contemporary meaning with visitors. Therefore, museums should be active participants, not passive observers and recorders, in the process of preserving heritage, because they have a primary role in modeling strategies to enhance heritage awareness and social identity. Museums in the 21st century are at the crossroads of major transformations in the global economy and environment. They are in a position to address the urgent need for safeguarding cultural diversity and biodiversity as the common heritage of humanity. The preferred futures across the world are for environmental, cultural, economic, and social sustainability. Museums have a role to play as mediators in these transformations in promoting social harmony. The true success of museums is measured by hard-to-quantify intangibles like the quality of research and education, as well as the study, care, and maintenance of the collections, and, last not least, the level of public trust.
국제학술대회는 각국의 한중일 각국의 석학들을 모셔서
I think the biggest purpose of the museum is to preserve and display cultural assets. Therefore, I believe it is also an important role for the museum to teach the public about the country's history and guide them into the future by letting them watch the preserved cultural assets. So our museum is open to the public for free.
Museums provide the public with opportunities for lifelong learning and are vital stewards of our cultural heritage. Nowadays, building bookshops, restaurants, organizing concerts and international forums have become common and good ways to boost the appeal of museums. It is also a winning strategy for attracting and involving people and tourists.
I think that, museums and cultures got to be fun. It's got to be entertainment, to attract everybody. We want young people, families coming in. So our target has been in this year exactly to attract them. How? Through advertising, through promotions. We extended opening hours free. We had promotion like St. Valentine's weekends, women's weekends, the week of culture, a lot of promotion where we offer our museum for free.
As more and more museums become free of charge worldwide, the management of museums is facing a series of challenges and obstacles, such as lack of funding, gaps between ticket revenues and the total budget, etc. The officials of cultural ministries in many countries are trying their best to solve these problems.
The preservation of cultural heritage has always been a key issue in the management of museums. However, this is no easy job. Bianco, director of Italy's National Gallery of Ancient Art, leads our correspondent in the gallery and introduced the situation of preservation work.
Sicuramente la quantità di opere d'arte che possiede.
This museum has such a multifariousness of masterpieces that it's hard to preserve and restore all of them. There is an enormous heritage here, but preservation work is constantly carried out and shared through the years by single individuals, both administrating staff and restorers that, for example, control the temperature of the rooms and humidity levels, which affect the state of preservation. Restorers verify regularly that the errors are not damaged. We have a restoration laboratory, but problems remain and are mainly linked to the urgency of quickly intervening on the painting. But care strengthens across time, and so the most important aspect is that we never have emergency in conserving the masterpieces.
The lack of government funding is also obvious in some countries. There are always gaps in the network of public support for a nation's rich and diverse museum sector. Thus, private sponsors are expected to be the helper.
Ma io direi di sì. Se il museo
If a museum has the power and is able to dialogue on equal levels with private sponsors, this is a beautiful experience, and we have already experimented this before with the AXA Insurance Company, IBM Foundation, and other important sponsors. When there is a relationship of trust with the firms, these can provide financial resources or technological instruments too expensive for the state. This is indeed a compulsory strategy we must learn to use. We cannot be too obtuse, but open up to all interlocutors of society and industry.
Nowadays, as more and more museums open free of charge to public, the pressure upon cultural ministries and government thus gets bigger. In Italy, most of the big museums are still charging entrance fees. However, the officials say they don't rely just on the ticket revenues.
Unfortunately, ticket revenue is a very small part of our needs, so it's 3%. So definitely not adequate to keep the enormous expenses we have to incur to maintain the enormous quantity of our heritage and antiquities. So that's why we need, from one side, we need tax incentive to increase and help mecenates to help us out, coming from all over the world. We've seen a lot of interest in adopting Colosseum, Pompeii, and what have you. Started already with the Colosseum, but also what we need is not only is a tax advantage, and we need to increase the revenue. So we need to extending opening hours. We started already. We wanted to open also during high season, May 1st, celebrations, or any sort of celebration is an opportunity for us to promote more visitors to our museums. We need to promote what is one of the main assets of our country.
Bianco also explained the problem of lack of funding in museums of Italy. In her opinion, the ticket price should be stable. Besides, Rome has the cheapest tickets of all Europe. She believes people have to buy a ticket to visit the museums because you have to pay the culture.
In effetti sì, e diciamo che al limite se noi volessimo
If we relied exclusive on the ticket revenues to maintain the museum, the tickets should in fact be higher, but then people would not visit anymore. I think that the Culture Ministry's policy is correct from an equal opportunity point of view of the citizens. Ticket average price is lower than going to the cinema, eating a pizza. Youth, old people, and pensioners are given free access. Disadvantaged social classes are thus protected, while others, we hope, they can afford to visit a museum. If in Italy we have single private people with high financial potentials interested in museums and who consider museums as their home, like US-style trustees, they would support and become friends of the museum by paying a higher ticket price but free to take friends with them.
Museums preserve cultural heritages, as well as offering people's abundant knowledge of our history and civilization. They are now an indispensable part of our spiritual life in modern society. Wish the International Museum Day 2011 a big success. More people will pay attention to the protection and preservation of human spiritual treasures. Okay, this is the end of today's CNC World Perspective. Thanks for watching. I'm Amy. We'll see you next time.